Police respond to Rankin Lake Park in Gastonia after Maddox Ritch was reported missing by a park employee around 1:30 p.m. Maddox, a 6-year-old boy with autism causing him to be nonverbal, went missing on September 22, 2018 while at the park with his father and another adult. They were walking on the track that goes around the lake. His father states that Maddox got ahead of him, and before he knew it, he was out of sight. His father has diabetic neuropathy, so he can't move as fast as Maddox. A 911 call was made by a part-time park employee while the father was searching for Maddox. The father lost track of Maddox at around 1:30 p.m. Dispatch records show that first responders weren't called until 2:33 p.m. Here is the 911 call.
911, 599. What is the address of your emergency?
Yes, ma'am. We're at Rankin Lake Park, Gastonia, and we got a missing kid. He's missing. He's been missing probably the last 30, 40 minutes, hour maybe.
All right. How old is the child?
I think about 6, 7 years old. We searched everywhere.
Are you an employee?
Yes, ma'am.
Is the parents there?
Yeah, they're here. They're out looking for him.
Where was the last place they seen him at in the park?
They seen him right by the pier and the set of trees over here on the other end.
Last seen him near the pier and the trees?
Yes.
I need to know his name. Is the parents nearby or somebody near that you can talk to?
Give me 1 second. I'm sorry, I don't know the kid's name.
Okay.
The parents are out here looking.
Hundreds of federal and local agents on the move, from drainage pipes to manholes. The desperate search expanded for 6-year-old Maddox Ritch.
Oh, it's torture. It's torture. I just want my little boy back home.
The boy's father, Ian Ritch, speaking publicly for the first time, says he was with a friend walking through the park when his son, who has autism, started running after a jogger.
I couldn't catch up with him. I feel guilt for letting him get so far ahead of me.
Police say it was around 1:30 Saturday afternoon when Maddox vanished. His father did not call 911. A park employee did.
It's been torture. I'm not eating, not sleeping. I'm just worried about getting my little boy back.
That employee told the dispatcher the boy was wearing black shorts and an orange shirt that read, "I'm the man." But he now tells NBC News he never actually saw the boy.
Continue praying for him because I just want my baby home, please. Whatever you can do.
150 leads. Conducted hundreds of interviews. Gathered surveillance video from stores all over the area.
The FBI is now helping with the search for Maddox. From above, in water, using boats and kayaks, even in nearby dumpsters.
Maddox is my whole world and my reason for living.
The FBI is offering a $10,000 reward for information leading to his whereabouts.
His father is speaking out tonight.
It's been torture. I'm not eating, not sleeping. I'm just worried about getting my little boy back.
Appearing with police this afternoon at a news conference was Ian Ritch. He hasn't seen his 6-year-old son Maddox since Saturday. That's when Ian took Maddox, who has autism and does not speak, to a local park where there is a track in the lake.
A jogger passed by, and as he was jogging past us, that's when Maddox started to jog out behind him. So I usually just give him a little space and let him do his thing, and once we got so far, he took off from me running, and I just never could catch up with him.
You're a grown man, he's a little boy. How did he outrun you?
He can run. He can run.
Okay.
And I couldn't keep up with him. Not that fast.
Ian later told us that he has neuropathy in his feet due to diabetes, and that makes it difficult for him to run.
What do you think happened?
I don't know. I thought he might have got lost in the woods. After all this time, it's giving me doubts. It makes me wonder if somebody got him in the parking lot.
If somebody kidnapped him?
Right.
Did you do anything to harm Maddox?
No.
Did anyone you know do anything to harm Maddox?
No.
FBI agent Jason Kaplan says Maddox's parents are cooperating.
And we feel very confident that a lot of the information that they provided to us is accurate, and it's helped us in a great deal in finding out the last place we saw Maddox.
More than 24 agencies, including the FBI, are searching around the clock in North Carolina for a 6-year-old boy who vanished Saturday. A $10,000 reward has been posted. David Begnaud reports from North Carolina.
Tonight, an emotional plea from Maddox Ritch's mother, Carrie.
I would appreciate it if you were at the park Saturday and saw Maddox. to please, urgently, please, call the tip line, please.
Today, just a few miles from where Maddox was last seen, investigators searched a landfill. Yesterday, they were looking through dumpsters. The father told police that Maddox wandered off while walking around this lake, and now investigators are draining that lake.
His father says he was last seen Saturday afternoon at Rankin Lake Park in Gastonia while walking with him and his girlfriend. Rich says the boy chased after a jogger and then disappeared.
I couldn't catch up with him. I feel guilt for letting him get so far ahead of me before I started running after him.
We want to find Maddox. We want to find him today. We want to find him right now.
The search for Maddox is intensifying. Investigators say they are following 250 leads and combing through thousands of acres. They're using specialized underwater equipment to scan the park's lake. They are also looking to speak with the jogger and another man loading a kayak into a truck at the park Saturday.
Gaston County 911.
Police released the 911 call Wednesday that was made nearly an hour after Maddox went missing.
It didn't look as though they were that concerned.
Rick Fox made that 911 call. He works at Rankin Lake Park and doesn't believe Maddox was ever there.
I've worked there almost 3 years, and we see everybody come in and out of that park pretty much. I didn't see that kid one time.
Despite the rain, the search continues right now. You know, Ian Rich told me he feels like suspect number one because he's the dad and he was the last person to see Maddox alive. He said he's turned over his phone records, let police search his car and his house. And Jeff, the FBI will not confirm this, but Ian told us he has taken and passed 2 polygraphs.
A search team in North Carolina found a body today in a shallow creek. The remains are believed to be those of Maddox Ritch, a young boy with autism who disappeared last weekend. Here's Manuel Bajorquez.
The boy's body was found in a creek about a mile away from the Gastonia, North Carolina park, where 6-year-old Maddox Ritch was reported missing last Saturday. Gastonia Police Chief Robert Helton choked back tears.
I'm heartbroken. Our community's heartbroken.
The FBI said the discovery does not end its investigation. What is your investigation looking to answer right now?
Effectively, where did he enter? How did he get there? What was the manner of death? What was the cause of death? Was there any crime that was committed? Or are we simply looking at an accident? Those are very difficult questions to answer, but they're questions that we will answer.
Dozens of searchers spent almost a week scouring thousands of acres as hundreds of tips came in. Steve Early lives near the creek where the body was eventually found and had these words for Maddox's parents.
We'll be praying for you. Me and my wife's praying family. We'll be praying for you.
Late tonight, Maddox's father, Ian Rich, put out a statement saying, "I would do anything to go back and save him." Investigators say they would still like to speak with anyone else who was at this park at the time of the disappearance. They do not believe the body flowed from the park's lake into that creek, but said there is a pathway Maddox could have taken. Jeff?
All right, Manuel's in Gastonia, North Carolina for us. Thank you.
It's the news none of us wanted to hear. Officials believe they have found the body of little Maddox Ritch, who's been missing nearly a week.
The 6-day search coming to a tragic end yesterday. The body was found along Long Creek, just about a mile from Rankin Lake Park, where Maddox disappeared. NBC Charlotte's Ruby Durham, she's live at the park. And Ruby, this investigation's still far from over at this hour.
Rachel, that's correct. The next step in this investigation is for the medical examiner to officially confirm that it's Maddox's body. Then the coroner's office will need to perform an autopsy to determine how he died. I do know this morning that investigators are still believing the family's story and are not naming them as suspects.
For 6 agonizing days, over 300 people were on one mission to bring Maddox home safely, which is why the Gastonia police chief was brought to tears when he learned that would not happen.
I'm heartbroken.
A team of 15 searchers finding a body believed to be Maddox's along Long Creek around 1 o'clock Thursday, just 1 mile away from where his father last saw the 6-year-old.
The chief and I saw Maddox, and it is absolutely amazing that he was found. It was extremely difficult to see him even when we were standing right next to him.
And now the questions remain over how Maddox's body got there. Authorities say the creek does connect to the lake in the park. However, the chief says there are barriers, making it impossible for the child's body to float to where it was found. And investigators now looking into nearby trails for any signs of footprints.
We will not take anything for granted. We answer every question that we can about where Maddox was, how his movement occurred, and how it was that he ended up where he did.
Ben and Rachel, finding Maddox's body was one of the darkest days for the Gastonia Police Department, which is why counselors are going to be made for them during this time. But, you know, authorities say this investigation is far from over. We'll keep you updated as we learn new details. Live in Gastonia, Ruby Durham, NBC Charlotte.
Ruby, thank you. And as you can imagine, everyone is just devastated by this news.
That's right. There was a memorial last night near the park to remember and honor little Maddox.
Everyone was devastated to find out that the body found was indeed Maddox Ritch. Social media was already ablaze with accusations and vitriol towards the father. It only intensified with the discovery of Maddox's body. Conspiracies and rumors ran wild as everyone awaited the autopsy results.
Ritch, his father, once again defending himself on social media.
This week will mark 1 month since an intensive search for the 6-year-old ended at Long Creek, where police recovered his body.
His father says he lost track of Maddox after the boy ran too far ahead of him at Gastonia's Rankin Lake Park.
NBC Charlotte's Brendan Goldner continues to follow this case. And Brendan, what did Maddox's father post?
Well, friend Sarah, Ritch posted to a popular Facebook group devoted to discussing the case. It is a closed group. You have to request to be a member. However, there are more than 4,000 people who are a part of the group, including several NBC Charlotte reporters, myself included.
It's torture. I just want my little boy back home.
From the moment he first spoke publicly in September, Ian Ritch insisted his 6-year-old son Maddox ran too far ahead of him on that fateful Saturday trip to Rankin Lake.
I couldn't catch up with him. I feel guilt for letting him get so far ahead of me.
Nearly a month after that news conference in which people questioned just how true his words were, Ritch is defending himself for the second time on Facebook. Saturday evening, Ritch wrote, quote, "These pics are from our park in Kannapolis, and after I walked the Greenway, this is why I feel like he could have went this way. It reminded me of our old park, and I'm sure he would think that too." Well, let's break this down. While Ritch didn't specify which Kannapolis park, we do know, based on court records, the family's last known address was an apartment complex in Concord, which borders Kannapolis. At the news conference, Ritch says this was the first time he and Maddox ever visited Rankin Lake Park. While he doesn't necessarily specify, the Greenway we believe he's referring to is a pathway north of the park the city has designated to be a future greenway. It provides the most direct path from the park to where Maddox's body was found. Ritch has not given any more interviews since that news conference. Of course, we've reached out to him multiple times since then, asking for comment. We still haven't heard back.
The men and women who searched and found the body of Maddox Ritch honored tonight in Gaston County. 6-year-old Maddox disappeared at Rankin Lake Park in September. His body was found days later in a nearby creek. An autopsy revealed he died from drowning. Tonight, members from the Civil Air Patrol who were part of the search efforts received an award of service from the North Carolina Wing Command for their service to the community.
He was just a sweet little boy, always wanted to cuddle, always hungry. Just the sweetest little boy you could ever meet. As law enforcement called me, I didn't recognize the number, of course, it was a private number, so therefore I didn't answer. Number called again, picked up, and there was a voicemail regarding that my son had been missing in Rankin Lake Park. Of course, my anxiety was really bad. I couldn't breathe, didn't know what I was going to do, how I was going to get there. Asked somebody to come get me because I didn't know if I could even drive. It was just a horrific time for me, just even remembering it. It was just, to this day, it's heart-wrenching.
How long had he been missing by the time when you got there?
I was told it had been within an hour or two. Of course, the stories kept changing. My ex-husband kept changing the stories as to where Maddox was, and he was over by the water, he was over by the parking lot. It escalated, and no one really knew where Maddox could have been or what direction he could have gone. It was devastating. I had no idea. Like, could Maddox be still in the woods? Could have somebody abducted him? Could somebody have done worse to him? I just didn't know, and it was the longest 6 days of my life, having to wonder and sit there. You know, is Maddox okay? Is he off in the woods just hiding? You know, just didn't know. I had so many mixed emotions I can't even explain. I was sad, angry, like, why did this happen to my child? Not questioning God, but just not knowing, you know, where he was or what happened.
Yeah.
The first to second day, I knew something bad had happened. I knew he wasn't coming back. I felt like maybe somebody had taken him, maybe. Just didn't know. Well, during the search, myself and my ex-husband were not allowed to be in the park. It was just like law enforcement and the crews that were there available to look for Maddox. So I can't thank the community enough, and the law enforcement and Gastonia Police Department and the FBI for all that they did for Maddox and the search. You never know what's going to happen. You know, I truly miss my little boy, and I know that one day I'll see him again. And that's what keeps me going every single day. Every day that passes, I know that I'm going to see him. So I always feel him in my heart. I know he's always going to be there with me. He may not be there with me physically, but he is there with me. Little signs of birds or butterflies or beautiful rainbow, it captures my heart. And on his stone, on the very top that you see there, it's Maddox. That was his handwriting. That was the day before he went missing. He wrote that in school. And then below it, you see God Way Mama. That was his, you know, favorite song, God Will Make a Way. Because he was a mama's boy. We were very, very, very close. So this is Maddox's little flopsy buns, we called him. I actually got that for him when he was a year old. He loved this little bunny. He'd always bite on it when he was teething. That was his thing, he'd just bite on it. So still have that little indention, and it's still as flopsy as ever, and I sleep with it every night. So that was his little favorite bunny, other than his teddy bear. I think of him holding it and holding it by the ear and biting on it.
Maddox's death was determined to be accidental, and nobody was charged with anything in relation to his disappearance or death. They believe that he drowned very shortly after he went missing, and the animal bite wounds were post-mortem wounds. Since then, an FBI agent who assisted in the search for Maddox developed a one-page questionnaire for investigators to use when a child with autism goes missing. After Maddox's case, he wanted to make sure that he was prepared in the future, since they believe he died shortly after he was reported missing. This questionnaire was circulated throughout the FBI's CARD team, which includes approximately 75 members in FBI field offices across the country. The CARD team holds multiple exercises every year to prepare local law enforcement on how to properly respond to such events.